University of Minnesota Duluth, Montgomery enthusiast and grateful curator of this exhibit. It is a dream to be here today after 2.5 years of work made lighter by an incredible team of people whose enthusiasm and creativity have infused this whole project with joy. But now I think we've buried the lead enough. Let's look at the site. I'd like to start at the very beginning, at the moment that started it all. Montgomery writes, "I remember well the very evening I wrote the opening paragraph of Green Gables. It was a moist, showery, sweet-scented evening in June 10 years ago. I was sitting on the end of the table, her emphasis, in the old kitchen, my feet on a sofa beside the west window, because I wanted to get the last gleams of daylight on my portfolio. I did not for a moment dream that the book I had just begun was to bring me the fame and success I had long dreamed of. So I wrote the opening paragraphs quite easily, not feeling obliged to write up to any particular reputation or style. So let's imagine that moment together with the help of our illustrator and animator, Lillian G. Does that build enough anticipation yet? That quiet moment, so beautifully captured here, and that first sheet of paper on which Montgomery crossed out a previously written bit of short story to begin Anne, has shaped Canadian literary history and this island. When I was asked to join the manuscript project team in 2019, I was asked what my vision for our exhibit might be. And while we hadn't yet found Lillian to illustrate it for us, and we hadn't yet digitized that page yet, I knew I wanted to capture the energy of that both humble and historic moment. I wanted visitors to come in and stay a while with Montgomery and Anne. I imagined the site leading visitors to and from all the manuscript pages, letting them zoom and leaf through to study the ink, to watch videos and read articles about Montgomery, then move back into the manuscript to pore over the text on the back of the pages, or to simply sit, as Elizabeth Epperly once did, in awe of the story that Montgomery crafted. I sketched, in colored pencil no less, what I thought the site might look like. I left room, I don't know if you can see that over on the left, for cool things. That's what I put on the left there. This was my sketch in the beginning. But since then, I think we've outdone my sketch. From your first moment entering the site, you'll be invited to explore every intriguing detail of the digitized manuscript, every pen stroke and scribble, every edit and revision, and every intriguing mystery or lingering question. Our web developer, GraphCom, here in Charlottetown, built a site that will allow everyone to experience and to search the full exhibit and explore the full manuscript. A variety of experts and readers provided articles, context, media, and archival material that will deepen your reading of Anne. We sought out experts in social and environmental history, historical textiles, the island tourism industry, translation, and the history of Anne of Green Gables, the musical, here at the Confederation Center. Betsy and I spent hundreds of hours with Montgomery's pages, transcribing and annotating them in text, image, audio, and video with helpful context and commentary. I also spent many hundred hours loading each of those annotations onto the site, but that's a story for another time. So I'm going to tease a little bit and give you some other sneak peeks of the surrounding exhibit before I show you more of the manuscript. There are 4 themed areas of the site in which there are 24 articles written by Betsy and me and by contributors from 15 countries. Each of these articles includes a variety of material, all complemented with sketches from Lily and Jean, which I've sprinkled throughout this preview, and full of links to and from the manuscript itself. The author section includes articles about Montgomery's history, her families, her reading impulses, including a list of all the literature referenced in Anne of Green Gables. There are 55 different references, and I think 26 of those are to poems, which seems fitting. There are articles about the many sites in PEI and Ontario that honor her today, as well as a fully illustrated timeline of her life and work. The timeline includes a few new and rare tidbits, like the original publishing contract that Montgomery signed with Elsie Page in 1907, which has never before been digitized. And you probably can't read that, but Montgomery only made 10% on the wholesale price of Anne of Green Gables. The writing process section explores the origins of the manuscript, including that moment Montgomery began the novel, and how she planned, mapped, drafted, and revised. Everly's articles explain the alphanumeric revision system that Montgomery had developed as a prolific short story writer, and she answers that question, what's on the backs of the pages, exploring the scratch paper that makes up the first third of the manuscript. Montgomery's Island includes articles on the social and natural history of PEI that influenced Montgomery in her writing, histories of the McNeil home where she grew up and the Green Gables house she visited, and on the past and present of Cavendish, including a newly digitized page of the minutes of the Cavendish Literary Society, taken down by Montgomery herself in 1906. On the agenda that day, a talk by her future husband, Ewan MacDonald. And finally, the articles in Anne's Legacies explore the translations and adaptations of Anne on stage, page, and screens large and small, across time and across the globe. There is Anne TV, and Anne Ballet, and Anne Anime, and even Anne Topiary. Covering the World, one of the articles in that section, features responses and book covers from readers and scholars around the world, Iran, Ukraine, Sweden, Japan, who all told me what Anne meant to them and what Anne means to readers there. These 4 sections and the articles within them stand alone as rich new sources on Montgomery and Anne. But in the end, they are designed to lead you to and from the manuscript, which, finally, right, is a small yellow stack of pages of irregular sizes housed here at the Confederation Center, and you saw it on the way in. It has been on display, as Kevin mentioned, off and on over the years, but one can generally only see 1 or 2 pages at a time when the manuscript is on display under glass. Montgomery herself allowed just the first page to be displayed at a hotel in Toronto in 1935. The stack measures approximately 6.5 centimeters high and is only a bit larger than a trade paperback. Its 571 sheets of paper are covered front and back in 2 sections: story, the body of the Anne novel, and notes, where Montgomery kept track of her additions. The notes pages begin with Note A, her first addition to the running text, and continue all the way through the alphabet 18 times, a little more than 18 times, ending with Note S19, the last addition to the text. However, as I mentioned, the first third of those story pages and the corresponding third of the notes are written on scratch paper, like the one you see crossed out here. In all, there are 289 pages of other material, including bits of 15 short stories and poems. On the poem pages, you can see where Montgomery tried out a couple of her early short-lived pen names, Maud Eglinton and Maud Cavendish. When you enter the manuscript site, you will find a myriad of media to experience and tools to try out. We committed to including something, annotation or note, on all 1,142 pages. You will find images to illustrate the scenes, audio clips and videos to go with the text, navigation tools to find your favorite chapters, a full search tool so you can get right to what you're looking for in French and English. You can also turn off these annotations and browse Montgomery's pages just as they are. And you can zoom and explore every page. There is so much to learn from Montgomery's handwriting, or from watching how and where she dipped her pen, how she built a chapter, or how she chose a word. You can easily find moments in the manuscript and their corresponding notes pages, like that most famous line, "I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers," which was an addition to chapter 16. It's also just plain fun to see those memorable scenes in their original form. Yes, Montgomery really did emphasize the green in Anne's hair when she dyed it, and the E in her name when she spelled it out loud. And you can find that kindred spirit Diana was nearly Laura, and then Gertrude, before she was Diana, but Anne seemed to like her name either way. Each page and pen stroke show the blend of thoughtful planning and creative spontaneity that brought Anne to life. There are pages without edits and lines fully scratched out that just beg for you to zoom in and look for the tails of letters, or to see how she ran her pen through the line. There are strings of mysterious numbers on the scratch pages, and if you can see that when you get close, it looks like the 2 and the 71 were added later. They mean something. I haven't yet figured it out, but they are indexed on the site, and I hope someone else can manipulate them and figure out what they mean. There are renumbered pages and hundreds of small edits that show Montgomery at her craft. We had experts and designers build maps. We asked scholars and Montgomery adjacent folks to record themselves reading all 38 chapter titles. And we resurrected material recorded for the CD-ROM, The Bend in the Road, from the year 2000, that may have been forgotten since so few of us have CD-ROMs anymore. I also lost track of how many archives we contacted to borrow or use material. There is more than I could possibly cram into this short preview, and I've listed so many of the things that you can learn on the site. The site is really meant to be a celebration of story that invites visitors to learn and read and immerse themselves. As I say in an article on the site, Montgomery was surrounded by stories. They were woven into the island's small communities, and they opened new worlds for her too. She treasured books as gateways to daydreams and imagination, and she dove into her own writing, where she could shape the imaginations of her readers. For Montgomery, stories were vital. She read and she journaled and she toiled over her craft, escaping into books and living on the page. It is truly a gift to get to spend time with those pages. I can't wait to read the papers that get written about the manuscript, or hear about the teachers who use the site in a class. I've joked on and off throughout this process that it has clearly taken a small army of us to get one of Montgomery's projects on the internet. And I imagine she would have heartily enjoyed watching us zooming and studying to decide whether or not a stray pen mark was a comma or a semicolon. We spent hours on questions like that. I have loved Montgomery's work since I was a child, and since I figured out that I was named after one of her other heroines, Emily Bird Starr. I've also been lucky enough to be a part of the Montgomery world since high school, when my mother brought my 13-year-old sister Anne, yes, Anne, and I to the island for an academic conference, like you do in high school. As I'm sure you all did that. It was then I learned that the island is the perfect place for the humble and the historic. It has been the honor of a lifetime to work on this project and to welcome more of you into Montgomery's world. Thank you.